regular meeting of the Ottawa City Commission. This is Mayor Tom Wygand, and I'm asking the Assistant City Clerk, Misty Kems, to read the disclosure necessary for these distance meetings. Misty.
This is
Kems. Did I say your name right? Yeah, I got it.
This is Misty Kems, Assistant City Clerk speaking, and I will be providing information for remote access to tonight's meeting, as well as procedural guidelines that will be followed for this meeting. Due to efforts to mitigate the spread of COVID-19, physical access to the City Commission meeting will be restricted. In accordance with Kansas Open Meetings Act, COMA, the meeting can be viewed live on Channel 23 and via Facebook Live, or listened to by dialing 1-312-626-6799 and entering meeting ID 976-6273-3505#. Please note, participants who generate unwanted or distracting noises may be muted by the meeting host. If this happens, please unmute yourself when you wish to speak. That information can be found at the top of today's agenda. Guidelines for this meeting are as follows. Each member of the public, staff, or presenter is required to state the individual's name and title, if any, each time the individual begins speaking or voting so that the individual can be identified by remote listeners or observers. Citizens that submitted comments by 4 p.m. today to public comments at ottawaks.gov were given to City Commission to be read during public comments or during discussion on an agenda item. The Commission must describe at the beginning of the meeting the process that will be used for a closed or executive meeting pursuant to KSA 754319 and amendments thereto.
Thank you, Misty. This is Mayor Wygand. I call this meeting to order, and I ask the clerk to call the roll.
Mayor Wygand.
Present.
Commissioner Kaler.
Present.
Commissioner Crowley.
Present.
Commissioner Skidmore.
Present.
Commissioner Jorgensen.
Present.
Okay, thank you all commissioners present. I want to welcome any media who are with us today, as well as the public watching on Facebook Live, as well as listening to us over their phones. At this time, we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and then Commissioner Skidmore will lead the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes, let's pray. Father, we thank you that we can meet in this open forum like this, and that we continue to meet as we have been. Father, we look around our country and we see a lot of just a pain and suffering. We see people taking vengeance and anger toward one another instead of love and understanding and respect. And we just pray for a calming spirit of your spirit come over our country. We certainly need you now. And Lord, we thank you that our little community here, we've been insulated from this, and we're just thankful you blessed us, and we have a peaceful coexistence with everybody here. Lord, we also pray for our universities, our schools, as they try to navigate this COVID situation with regard to education. We know how important education is. And I ask for direction and guidance in the board members and administrators and teachers as we navigate these difficult times. And Lord, also just pray for this agenda tonight. We just pray you'll give us guidance and direction, good wisdom as we discuss these issues and make the right decisions that would honor you. All these things we pray in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Commissioner Skidmore.
Sure.
We have items 6 and 7, but item 6 is the minutes, or the consent agenda for minutes from July 1, 2020 regular meeting, July 6, 2020 study session, July 13th, 2020 study session, and the July 15th, 2020 regular meeting. I would entertain a motion to accept those minutes to approve those, or stand for any corrections.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'll make the motion to approve item 6 on our agenda.
Commissioner Jorgensen seconds.
Been moved and seconded. If there's no discussion, let's do all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
no opposed. I think those who are not muted approved too. So we'll go forward. We have the regular agenda and we have public comments. Do we want to do those now, or is it more appropriate they speak to what
Mayor
they're
Wygan,
interested in?
I believe he's
Yes.
going to speak under item 12.
Okay, is there any other person wanting to speak? I will read this, the public comment section when we get to item 12. Item 9 is the declaration. At this time, I'd like to give the commissioners a chance to declare any conflict or communication they've had that might influence their ability to consider today's issues impartially. I see no one has a problem with that. Will the clerk read item 10?
Request for approval of Ottawa University Educational Facilities Revenue Bonds, Series 2020.
Amy Finch, Clark Rivardi, and Tom Corley of Ottawa University, along with Scott Waller of the KICFA, Kansas Independent College Finance Authority. I would comment this approval does not impose any liability on the city or in any way invoke the city in the issuance of the notes for the proposed project, but is an accommodation by the city to satisfy requirements of the Internal Revenue Code. Would any of the named participants want to speak? Clark, you've done this before. Are you here? Scott Waller, I saw you here.
Yeah, this is Clark Rivardi with Ottawa University. I'm here.
Okay, great. Why don't you review this request for the listening public?
Sure, happy to. So Ottawa University is going to be issuing bonds in an amount that will include a small amount that relates to some equipment that is under capital leases, and that equipment is located in Ottawa, Kansas. The vast majority of this project is for our 2 buildings and some other leases down in our Surprise, Arizona campus. So because it's related to assets in both Arizona and Kansas, we come before the city of Ottawa to seek approval for this. And as you mentioned, Mayor, no obligation to the city. It's all Ottawa, and we must seek your approval to be in compliance with the tax code.
Thank you. Any of the commissioners have any questions, concerns, or comments?
Mayor Wygan, Commissioner Skidmore, Clark, I guess the city of Surprise also has to approve this since some of the funding is for their facility?
Correct.
Okay. And with that, I'll make the motion. We approve item 10 on the agenda.
Commissioner Kaler will
We have a
second.
motion. Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, let's call the roll on this one.
How do you vote, Commissioner Crowley?
Yes.
Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaler?
Yes.
And Mayor Wygan?
I vote yes too. Motion carries. Congratulations, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Item 11.
This is Assistant City Clerk Misty Kemp speaking. Request for approval of bid for parking and sidewalk. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong thing. Request for approval of Kansas Housing Assistance Program Resolution and Cooperation Agreement.
Sedgwick and Shawnee counties administer the program and have requested the city participate to allow citizens of Ottawa to obtain mortgage loans through this program. Deanna Minardi of Stifel Public Finance will present this tonight. And Scott Riffle, are you involved in this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's a great pleasure to once again speak to you, and I'm very happy to introduce the Kansas Housing Assistance Program to you tonight. I was hopeful that I might rely on my previous presentation and answer any questions you have, but I would be happy to go into the program specifics if that's appropriate. Just whatever the commission feels is appropriate, please let me know.
For those, I think, listening tonight, why don't you give us a brief outline? I know you did cover it the other day in the study session, but for the general public, let's lay it out there again.
Thank you, Mayor. I very much appreciate the opportunity. The Kansas Housing Assistance Program is a down payment assistance program offered throughout Kansas in those jurisdictions that approve the program. And it provides qualified borrowers an opportunity to realize the dream of home ownership through receiving either an FHA, VA, USDA, or conventional loan. The rates are very competitive, and oftentimes they're lower than market as they are today. And the borrower can receive assistance in the amount of 3% all the way up to 5% of the loan amount. And the program has been successfully operating for several years, and it's been administered in some form or fashion by the two counties that you mentioned for well over 20 years.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Wygand, I've got a question. Have they used that extensively in those programs? Are the citizens aware of that, and they get the word out, and it's working successfully in those counties?
Yes, very much so. Thank you for giving the opportunity to mention that. The program does very well throughout Kansas. In fact, during COVID, the program has been operating at record levels of volume, obviously providing low interest rates and down payment assistance during this difficult time.
And I might ask one more question. They think the city, once we've approved, if we approve the program, that's all our obligation is. The rest is upon our mortgage companies and banks?
Correct. This is a procedural matter according to the council of the county, Sedgwick and Shawnee counties. It doesn't open up any liability or risk to the city and or the commission for that matter. It's just procedural, allows lenders in your jurisdiction to serve borrowers and allow them to take advantage of the opportunity.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, do you have further questions or comments?
Commissioner Skidmore, I've got a question. So if I understand, is this state money, and is there a limit on how much the state has to put in this program?
Very good question. There's no county money. There's no state money, no federal money. This is a program that operates using financial structures that are used all over the nation by state and local housing authorities. So the program will not run out of funds as long as the FHA, VA, USDA, and conventional loan market is operational.
Okay. And my second question is, so if a lot of the banks in town require 20% down, if somebody has 15%, this would be one way to couple their money with their down payment and get another 5% and meet the requirements. Would that be a good example?
Absolutely. This program actually encourages the borrower to have some money so that they can take advantage of lower rates. And so certainly if a borrower has their own money in some capacity, they can blend the two and take advantage of that. Very
good. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mayor Wygand, I've got one more question after Commissioner Skidmore's question there. Does the borrower have to meet any certain financials, like if they would qualify for an FHA or VA or USDA loan? Do they have to go that way, or can they choose to go this way, which sounds like a very easy, very simple, financially assisted program?
Right. So program melds seamlessly into your mortgage market. So a borrower can pick any loan type they would like, an FHA, VA, USDA, or a conventional loan. We want it to be seamless. Our goal is to simply offer the down payment assistance at very, very competitive rates so that a borrower who qualifies can take advantage of it.
Okay, very good. Any other questions, commissioners? If not, I would entertain a motion
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Taylor.
yes, I make a motion to approve the Kansas Housing Assistant Program Resolution and Cooperation Agreement.
Thank you. Is there a second to?
Commissioner
Commissioner
Crowley
Taylor.
will second that.
Been moved and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, please call the vote, the roll for the vote.
This is Assistant City Clerk Misty Kemp speaking. Commissioner Kaler, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Crowley,
Yes.
Commissioner Skidmore,
Yes.
Commissioner Jorgensen,
Yes.
and Mayor Wigand.
And I vote yes too. Motion approved. Thank you,
Thank
Scott.
The commission,
Here,
thank you for
we
your time and
hope,
consideration. Thank you.
Hope that continues the growth of housing in Ottawa, Kansas, and Franklin County. Item 12.
This is Assistant City Clerk Misty Kemp speaking. Request for approval of bid for parking and sidewalk project on First Street.
This project is primarily for parking and an accessible sidewalk from Main to Walnut on the north side of First Street. 4 bids were received for the project. Staff recommends accepting the bid from RFB Construction in the amount of $54,506.55. I understand there is a public comment, so Kevin James wants to speak to this. Kevin, I'm going to read the rules we operate under on public comment. Subject to the above restrictions, persons who wish to address the City Commission regarding items on the agenda may do so as that agenda item is called. Persons who wish to address the City Commission regarding items not on the agenda and that are under the jurisdiction of the City Commission may do so at this time when called upon by the mayor. Comments on personnel matters and matters pending in court or with other outside tribunals are not permitted. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Any presentation is for information purposes only. No action will be taken. Mr. James, please state your full name and address.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, am I out of?
City Clerk Amy Finch speaking. Because Mr. James is wishing to speak under the agenda item, we typically do not apply time limit unless the mayor asks us to. And because it's an item that you are considering this evening, you would still be able to take action on that after his comments.
I appreciate that, and that's great with me. Kevin, you have the floor. You might unmute.
Can you hear me okay?
I can now.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very
Yes.
much. Thank you, the commission, to let me speak tonight. And I appreciate everyone that's reached out to me this week under my concerns, especially Michael Hafley. He answered a lot of my questions this week that I had. My biggest concern is just as a taxpayer and as a citizen. Kevin James, James Automotive, 107 West First. I forgot to tell you that first, but is the low bidder. As you know, in the past, our water line project downtown was kind of an eyesore to everyone, and we're still paying for some of that problem by going with the low bidder. I would like to see that the low bidder not get this. Not that I have anything against the guy that's bidding or know anything about his construction company or anything, but as a city, the chamber, everybody preaches, keep the money local. The money will be spent back here rather than going to Pittsburgh, Kansas. That's my concern. Is I would like to think about the second bidder as a local company. They're here every day. They see us every day. We see them church, in schools, whatever, but also quality and timely manner. As you know, in the past, this is the 3rd year in a row that construction has taken place right in front of my front door. I'm all about improving the city and all that. I'm glad that it's taken place, but it's an expense to a business owner. And I appreciate everything you guys do, and I hope to just take that in consideration, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. James. Okay, we did hear about this, as Mayor Wygand, and we did hear about this at study session, and there is quite a disparity between the low bid and the high bid and the local bid. The local bid is actually about half of what the high bid was. And I have a tendency to agree, put my thoughts out there first. I have a tendency to agree with what Mr. James said about using local people, feeling like they could get the work done. I am concerned about this low bid, as we have been hurt by low bids before, out of town bids. And I don't know. I might ask Ms. Lee, our Public Works Director, or Public Planning Development Department Director, what would be if we took the second bid, the local bid, which is somewhat higher than the bid we've got here before us tonight. What's the financial impact to us on as far as the grant?
Mayor, this is Wendy Lee, Director of Community Development. Both Michael and I are prepared to talk a little bit about this project and the low bid and the process. I'm going to talk a little bit about the grants that we received and some of the financials, and then Mike can answer questions about the bid process. And as we said to you on Monday, we both visited with references for the low bidder. First, the city manager asked that we have our engineering consultants go back and look at all the numbers again. And while they were putting together the contract, they realized they overstated to us the amount that would be this contract if you were to select the low bidder. So your agenda says $54,506.55. The actual contract would be if the low bidder was selected, would be $52,316.05. Those funds, as we currently have them slated, would be paid for by Kansas Wildlife Parks and Tourism grant and a Sunflower Foundation grant. When we first received the bids, and we had also, and I had visited with Mr. James and we'd had a conversation, we weren't familiar with the low bidder, so we did some digging. Our engineer did, Michael did, and I did. We also had a Zoom conference call with the low bidder to talk about our concerns as far as timeliness and making sure that once the job was started, that it was that work was done every day and completion was timely, because we knew that it was going to affect businesses. And that's not to suggest we aren't concerned about that in other locations, but it was raised, the concern was raised by Mr. James, so we wanted to address that. And so at the same time, I asked the two funders, Kansas Wildlife and Parks and Sunflower Foundation, if we were under an obligation to select a low bidder. And they both came back and said, if we had done due diligence and determined that there was a reason that the low bidder was not satisfactory, they would consider an alternative. But as we shared with you on Monday, after our conversations and research, Michael and I felt comfortable recommending the low bidder to you. So should you decide that you would rather pick the next bidder up, I think the city would need to be prepared to pay the difference out of city dollars, because that's not what those dollars were set aside for. In fact, by having this bid come in just a little under the engineer's estimate, we were actually preparing to do some additional work to the Flint Hills Trail, including a possibility of asphalting part of that trail. And that opportunity comes about because this bid is the price that it is. So I think that's probably what you need from me. And I know Michael had some more comments he wanted to make about the process.
Mr. Mayor Wygand, Wendy, again, I asked the question that if we did approve the second bid and it was appropriate, it was acceptable to Wildlife and Parks, what would it cost the city? This $54,000 bid is costing the city around $3,000, if I understand it.
Actually, that $3,000 is relative to not only this work, but also installation of about 100 signs, shade structures, trees, benches. it's a part of a much larger project that, because we received $55,000 from Sunflower Foundation and $75,000 from the state, our share towards all of that is approximately $3,000.
Okay, so if
So
we went,
we would have, I'm sorry.
so if we went with the 86,000, would our share still remain $3,000?
No, sir. I believe we would be obligated to pay the difference because the two grants said that only if we had a substantive reason that the contractor could not perform the work as described, would they cover the difference.
Have
Mr.
we
Mayor.
gone, have we taken any looks at the work they've done and talked to the people they've worked for as far as timely manner? That's I know that's a big thing to people who are be disrupted by construction, that they get on it, get it done, and get out.
Mr. Mayor, this is Wendy Lee, Director of Community Development. Not only did we talk to references about that specifically, and the reference that I talked to was very, very satisfied with their ability to do the work. And they said that they had enough crews that they could put several crews to it. But we also talked to the business owner, and I think they may be on the call and could maybe even answer questions related to that portion if you'd like to hear it. But we did specifically look at, did they have good quality of work, and would they, and had they in the past performed, and in the person I talked to, out of town work to their satisfaction, and that contractor told me that they have used them repeatedly and wouldn't use them again.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes. Like
This is Commissioner Jorgensen. And I want to make sure that as we're talking through these numbers, that we have the correct numbers. On our packet that we received on Monday in the study session, the bid for RFB was $584.95. The number that Wendy had indicated, I think, is after removing some options and drilling down a little bit more, was $52,316.05 for the low bid. I'd like to know what that lesser figure would be for Kilo Construction before we move on.
I'm looking through my emails here to see if we have that. This is Wendy Lee, Director of Community Development. I know that Paul has the image. If you'd like to look at the project briefly, that'll help me tell you what we took out.
While you're looking, Wendy, I can talk this. This is Mike Hafley, Public Works Director. If you look at the top of the screen here, top of the picture, all that area that is in dark gray is the area of the project that we have removed. There was to be 2 additional parking stalls with charging stations for electric vehicles that was going to go into that area there on the west, or on the left side of that darker shaded area, but we did not get the easement to do so. So we have removed all of that gray shaded area from the project. So also, as you can see on the picture, I'll just talk this while Wendy's looking. The question came up Monday night about how many parking stalls there would be installed in the area, and you can clearly see that there's 7 stalls that will be installed there, along with a curb and parking bumpers to keep people from going over it. And then the area immediately above the parking stalls is the sidewalk that will be installed. And then down below on that picture, the second picture, kind of down below that area, is the sidewalk area that will be replaced in front of Mr. James's automotive shop. There's about 16 feet from the east end of his building that will be removed, and then replaced with a ADA compliant sidewalk all the way to the corner of Main and First Street.
Michael, this is Mayor Wygan. I can't read any of those clouds, but going over to the left-hand side of the computer screen, where does that hook in? Where does that hook into? And then it looks like it comes over and makes a turn, and it comes up and makes another turn, and it goes in front of Mr. James's shop. Is that how that works? It comes across Wise Guys parking area, or where?
Well, that top picture, Mayor,
Yeah.
this is Mike Dafley, Public Works Director. That top picture there is the north side of First Street, directly across the street from Legacy Square. So what you're seeing there with the driveway entrance and the squirrely sidewalk, that's all going, that sidewalk is to the west of Mr. James's shop.
Okay, so that is on the north side of Legacy Square, that parking.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so the south picture is the north side of First Street. Yeah, the bottom picture is the north side of First Street.
No,
Yes.
both pictures are the north side of First Street. It's broken up into two sections. The top section is west of the alley next to Kevin James's shop. The bottom picture is in front of Kevin James's shop to the corner of Main and First Street.
Okay.
So if you take that bottom picture, move it over to the right, and then take it up and marry it up, that would be the entire north side of First Street.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, this is Wendy Lee, Director of Community Development. I don't believe that Casey did an analysis of what that would be exactly for all the other remaining bidders, the deduct. So I don't have that number. It was something relative. So this was an $8,000 deduct for them. It would be probably somewhere closer to 10 or 12 for kilo, but we would have to run that quantity to know for sure what the contract amount could be.
Richard Jetty's hand up. Richard?
I do. Thank you, Mayor. This is Richard Nienstead, City Manager. We have a representative of Bartlett and West on the phone call with us, Angela Sharp. She may be able to shed light on this, but the numbers we gave to you Monday are the same numbers we ought to be looking at, and those were the bid amounts that you received. Okay? So what you have to do, and you may want to ask for some advice from your city attorney about what it means about not taking the lowest qualified bid as required by statute. So two things here. Angela Sharp is on this call with you. She perhaps could answer some of those questions. And then you likely should ask your city attorney for some advice on the bid process.
Angela?
Yes, Mayor, this is Angela Sharp with Bartlett and West. And Casey Colburn did do that analysis. And from the spreadsheet that I'm looking at, it does appear that the kilo bid, the deduct that would come from their unit pricing for taking out that area would be $8,267.75.
And that leaves us with that 54,000 or the 60-some thousand we saw Monday.
No, the number I'm giving you is actually the deduct that would come from the kilo bid, not the low bidder. I thought that's what you had asked for. I'm sorry.
Oh, I see. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah.
So Commissioner Crowley here. So Angela, could you give us that number then if you deduct a kilo's bid minus that deduct, what that number would be, please?
Yes, let me calculate that real quick. It's not on the PDF I'm looking at, but I can get that for you real quickly.
Mayor, Paul, could you also put that sheet up that shows all four bids?
So it would be $78,368.60
Thank you.
would be the kilo bid less that deduct.
I'm sorry, could you give us that number? Commissioner Kaler speaking. Can you give us that number one more time?
Sure. $78,368.60.
Okay, I would ask yes, Mayor Wygand again, I would ask the city attorney to render an opinion of if we did want to pursue maybe the second bid, and what that would mean to us and if it's feasible.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioner, City Attorney Blaine Finch, one of the, I'm not sure exactly what the bid said, whether it was lowest and best bid or lowest responsible bidder. There are a number of different variations of the language that are used in bids for these types of things. I will tell you that part of the reason that you bid public work is because you have an obligation to all of the taxpayers in the community to see that the work is done for the lowest possible dollar. About 20 years ago, a lot of cities went through a process of trying to create local bidder preferences, and basically saying that if a bid was within a certain range, but was offered by a local contractor, that would be worth, say, a 5% deduct for that local contractor to try to keep work local. Those fell out of favor because, quite frankly, what will happen is if you don't take the lowest responsible bid, people will stop bidding your projects because there's no reason for them to. And even the best local contractor will, in the absence of competition, realize that there's more to be gained from a non-competitive bid environment. I think you've heard by the terms of the grant that if the city takes something other than the lowest bid without any reason stated therefore, other than we'd just like to give it to a local company, the city could be on the hook for the difference between that low bid and the next highest bid. And I think in the absence of some compelling reason, in other words, you have done a reference check on the low bidder and they've come back with bad references, or they've done prior work for the city that was not acceptable, or there's some reason that you can articulate as to why you believe they are not the lowest responsible bidder and capable of performing the work. I think that puts the city in tenuous legal position. I can't tell you right now that school districts have a statute that require work over a certain amount to be issued to the lowest bidder. Certain public transportation projects require the lowest responsible bidder. This would probably fall more under the contract of what you had in the bid documents. But I will tell you that without a definite policy wherein you grant a certain percentage discount to local contractors, just choosing in this case to do so without anything more than that, I think is probably not an advisable route for you to travel in this case.
Mayor Wygand, I appreciate your comments, Mr. Finch, and I think this our questioning it's come about due to a couple of things. First, the diversity in the bids, and the second is the situation we got into on a sewer line, I believe it was, at Prosperity Park, where the contractor couldn't perform. So that is, and also we do appreciate the local company. But you've done your research. Wendy's done, Richard's done, Mike's done. And so I guess we do have a responsible bidder that has heard our conversation this evening about the importance of timeline and performance and a job well done. So, and any other discussion, commissioners?
Mayor Wygand, this is
Yes.
Sarah. Yeah, we expect the best out of every one of our contracts, not just this contractor, not any contract that is awarded from the city of Ottawa. Unfortunately, we didn't, I know that that Mr. James didn't have the greatest experience, and he and I have spoken, and I apologize for that experience. However, because we are all responsible for taxpayer money, I simply just have to say that I think it's best policy for us to go ahead and go with awarding the bid to RFB Construction, and saying that I will make a motion that we approve the bid for RFB construction as listed in item 12 on our agenda.
Commissioner Crowley here. I'd like to echo what our city attorney Blaine Finch was saying too, because me as a contractor too, I understand exactly, with bidding other projects outside of where I work, that if I were to continue to bid those projects and never be awarded those jobs and just find out that they just kept giving them to local contractors, that I too would quit bidding those projects. So I understand that completely, and I agree with Commissioner Kaler. It's a significant difference between low and bid and the next bid, and they're actually below the engineer's estimated cost too. So I too agree with Commissioner Kaler, and I would second that motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion, comments before we go to vote?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Commissioner.
This is Commissioner Jorgensen. And the inspection process, and this would be the Public Works, a question for Michael. Who accepts the work that's performed on the contract?
Myself and Justin McCurdy will be inspecting the project.
Okay, good. I just want to point out several years ago, when I didn't have any gray hair in my beard or my head, in 2005, there was the Cedar Street project was performed, and which was a complete rehab of the street and new sidewalks. And that project was kind of broken down into different phases. The contract on the sidewalks did go to the low bidder, which was appropriate. And I don't recall quite how much difference there was between the low and the next low bid, but the quality of the work that the local contractor had been able to perform, and we could see samples of his work all the way through town. The other contractor was from 40 miles down the road from Ottawa, and the quality of work that they did for sidewalks, the sidewalks were not particularly level. The finish work was not. I have used to do concrete work on the farm, and the finish for the cattle feeding area was probably at a higher level than some of the sidewalks that I saw on that I did than I saw on the Cedar Street project. And I'm not naming who the contractor was, but I just want to make sure that we do hold the folks on the contract to the level of standard that we're used to seeing. We don't need to accept a lesser quality of the contract. In this instance, we're talking $26,000 difference between the low and the next low, and that ends up to be about 50% of what the low bid is. So it would be irresponsible for us as government officials and city leaders to award to the next low contractor in this case. If it was closer, if it was instead of 26,000, if it was 2,600, then I would probably be willing to take that the guff or the questions on it at that point. But I just really can't see us taking a bid that's 50% higher just because it's a local bid at this time. So I just wanted to point that out.
Mayor Wygan, I appreciate your comments, Commissioner Jorgensen. We have other projects that'll be coming up for sidewalk improvements to the north, and so we will want to be honorable, as well as we will hold our contractors to a certain quality of project and expectations.
Mayor Wygan. Go ahead,
Mr. Mayor. I might want to point out too that, we as a governing board, we set the policy and we move policy forward, and then we set our staff to actually follow that policy. And if we're concerned about the bidding process and how the bidding process works within the city of Ottawa, then maybe that's something that we need to review at a later time. But I believe that our staff did exactly what we asked them to do, and they worked within the parameters that we have set for them. So I appreciate the staff doing their due diligence and making those calls and making sure that this is a contractor, as they do with every single bid, and doing exactly what they can do to protect the citizen dollar. So thank you, staff.
Mayor Wygon, Commissioner Crowley here. I'd just like to make one more comment too. I'm assuming too that we're talking concrete here, so that would be a local purchase from our local concrete plant just right down the road. So not all of these dollars will leave our local economy. There will be a significant amount of money spent, at the local concrete plant and with the local drivers and people that work for them too.
Mayor Wygan, Commissioner Skidmore, I agree with your comments, and I appreciate that Commissioner Jorgensen's comments about the fiduciary responsibility of our commissioner. I think Commissioner Kaler said that as well. Commissioner Crowley, I appreciate your comment too about you bid these projects similar to this too, and I agree with your assessment that you probably don't want to spend a lot of time and money bidding on something you're not going to get, so that's a waste of time. To Mr. James, I do appreciate your comments too. I know it almost sounds like we've been picking on you these last couple of years with Legacy Square, tearing up the street. Now this will come. I assure you, think we're all done. I hope I can assure you of that, unless we go on the other side of your building somewhere, but I don't think we plan to do that. So I appreciate that. Hopefully we can get in there quickly, get out quickly, you can get back to normal, and this thing will be a beautiful place for people to walk and bike and trail.
Okay. Richard has his hands up again.
Richard Ninestead, City Manager. Angela, the document that you brought to this virtual meeting to show us, would you please provide us with a copy of that so we can give that to the city clerk, please?
Yes, I emailed it to Mr. Heffley and to Wendy Lee.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mayor Wygan, I appreciate all the comments. I think that we've given this enough discussion, and they're all good comments and reasonable, and I understand the process. So we have a motion. We have a second. We've had our discussion. Let's call for the vote. Madam Clerk.
This is Assistant City Clerk Misty Kemp speaking. How do you vote, Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaler?
Yes.
Commissioner Crowley?
Yes.
Commissioner Skidmore? Commissioner Skidmore, I believe you're on mute.
Yes, indeed.
And Mayor Wygand.
And I vote yes too. Motion carries unanimously. Kevin, thank you so much for your comments and providing a topic for our discussion tonight. But we will hope this all turns out to the benefit of our downtown. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item 13.
This is Assistant City Clerk Misty Kemp speaking. Proclamation recognizing September 2020 as National Library Card Sign-Up Month.
This proclamation highlights the benefits of having a library card and utilizing the resources available at the library. Terry Chartier, Ottawa Library Executive Director, will accept the proclamation. We will have a virtual handoff probably. Terry? I don't have a proclamation to read. Terry's going to accept it, I'm sure. Do you have any comments, Terry?
Yes, I do. Hi, this is Terry Chartier, Executive Director of Ottawa Library. I would like to thank the mayor and the city commissioners for this proclamation recognizing September 2020 as Library Card Sign-Up Month. I would also like to thank Stacy Weingartner for her research and work putting this proclamation together. The Ottawa Library currently has 12,954 library card holders. An Ottawa library card holder has access to 66,893 local items, 1,024,399 items in the next consortium of 54 libraries. Ottawa library card holders also have access to public computers, Hoopla, Flipster, Newsbank, Canopy, Ancestry Library Edition, A to Z databases. Sign up for a library card. Individuals are asked to bring in their ID with their current address. If their ID does not have their current address, they're asked to bring in a piece of mail with that current address. We offer cards to anyone 5 years and older. Parents must sign up for their child's card 5 to 17 years old. Your first library card is free. If you lose your library card, it's $1 to replace that card. If you don't have a library card, we invite you to visit Ottawa Library to start your new and exciting adventures. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we are up to item 14, the report by our
Mayor
city manager.
Wigan.
Yes.
Before we move on, I actually have a copy of the proclamation, and I wonder if you might not want it read to the public.
I would like to have that read.
All right, well, the proclamation reads as follows. Whereas a library card is the most essential school supply of all, and whereas libraries and librarians play a crucial role in the education and development of children, and whereas libraries offer a variety of programs to stimulate an interest in reading and learning, and whereas library resources serve students of all ages, from early literacy to STEAM programs to research databases. And whereas signing up for a library card is the first step on a path towards academic achievement and lifelong learning. And whereas a library card gives a student the tools that foster success in the classroom and beyond. And whereas libraries create welcoming and inclusive spaces for students of all backgrounds to learn together and engage with one another. And whereas a library card empowers all people to pursue their dreams and to explore new passions and interests. And whereas libraries are consistently transforming and expanding services to meet the evolving needs of their communities. And whereas, and therefore the governing body of the city of Ottawa, Kansas does hereby proclaim September 2020 as Library Card Sign Up Month in the city of Ottawa and encourages citizens to sign up for their library card today.
Well, thank you for reading that. That made it real. And if you would just reach catty corner down from your right hand and tap Sarah on the shoulder, she'd hand that to you, Terry.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now, Richard, got a report?
I have none, Mayor and Commissioners.
I like your background there. City Commissioners, Commissioner Crowley.
I have no report.
Commissioner Jorgensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to indicate, to express to the James family my extreme appreciation for their business. If they, above all, have been affected very much by the construction that has been occurring on Main Street and across their street into Legacy Square. The water line project disrupted their business for a considerable amount of time. The one-way street in front of their place of business affected them as well. And then this is going to also have some effect on them. I believe they're going to lose a parking spot in front of their building, but they are gaining some angle in parking to the west of where they are. I did have a pleasant conversation with the James family earlier today, and to discuss this matter. And I've followed them from where their shop was, just south of Kansas State Bank in that parking lot. Used to be called the Gilmore Station there, and then Cook Auto, and then they moved from there over to Second and Hickory, and then from there to the location where they are now. And I guess it's been 16 years since they've been at that location. And they really wanted to be in a location that was close to Main Street and where the action is, where people could, that work downtown could drop their cars off and walk back to work and then pick them up when they're able to. But the James family is a mom and pop shop. And I wish we had 100 other businesses just like that, or let's not stop at 100. I wish we had 1,000 other businesses just like that in our community, and where they live here, their employees live here, they spend their money here, they pay their taxes here, and that's really the lifeblood of a community when you have businesses such as that. So the James family, I appreciate you. I hope that that this project that we're doing does not impact your business adversely, and that we keep the impact on your business to a minimum. So thank you very much for being here, and I wish you many years of continued success.
Thank you, Commissioner Jorgensen. Very well said. Commissioner Skidmore, top that.
No, I can't. I don't even want to try. But I will say this. I do appreciate Michael's crew out taking care of the weeds along the roads. You know, they were out early this morning working on that. And I wish we had a car show and a tractor show to showcase our community to all the passersby and all the visitors, but we don't. But nonetheless, our own citizens can enjoy the beauty of the roads. They just look great wherever you go. The weeds are gone. And I really appreciate that, Michael. So good work. Keep it up. And maybe next year we'll have our car show, tractor show, and everything back to normal. It'd be great.
Mr. Kaler, thank you, Michael.
Yes, thank you,
Mr.
Mr. Mayor. I think what Commissioner Jorgensen said was spot on. I don't know a time in my life that I didn't know the James family or the Cook family, and they are true Ottawa cheerleaders and ambassadors of our community, and we should be so proud of them. And I told Kevin that today when I was speaking with them about this. I appreciate the fact that Kevin is always willing to see every side of the issue, and that he also isn't afraid just to contact us and or contact me. I'm assuming the rest of you have talked to Kevin too, but never thinks twice about contacting me, because we all love Ottawa too. And Kevin James and his wife and his family are true ambassadors of our community. So I appreciate the fact that they remain active, and yeah, I appreciate everything that they do. I also do want to say that I heard from several people that were concerned about our cemeteries, and as soon as we began to address them, those individuals that had concerns were the very first individuals that called me right back and said, it's been taken care of. So know that we may hear some strong voices that are willing to say, you know, this isn't quite right, but they're also willing to give kudos where kudos are due. So I appreciate our community or our staff, specifically staff from Michael's department, that stepped in and got the cemetery at least back to where it should be, or better, into a better shape. So it's not easy. We will not always get everything right. That's what I always tell people. I promise you I will mess up 100 times in the month of September. But I will absolutely do my best, and I know that we can count on city employees to do their best too. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Everyone expressed, the appreciation for what we have going. The James family has been wonderful to the city of Ottawa. I can't add anything to what you said except to agree with it all. The corners downtown Ottawa make our downtown look very nice. Of course, the mowing has been mentioned, and I appreciate all the work we do in these difficult times, and we're going to get through that by wearing our masks. So I always see so many people on here. If there's anyone that has something that we should know, the public should know at this time, I'll give you a minute or so to state that. If not, we will we've accomplished our agenda except for the announcements. And so anyone have anything you want to bring before the commission tonight and the public? So I'll give the announcements. Our September 7th is our Labor Day holiday. The study session has been canceled and the city offices will be closed. So happy holiday and be safe and have some fun, but take the proper precautions and social distance. September 14th will be a study session at 4 p.m. via Zoom again. Our next regular meeting is September 16th, and that'll be 10 a.m. in the morning on a Wednesday. With that, I close the meeting with it's 8 o'clock.